you opted to go with Russ on the bench at the end of the game. What were you looking for there? What was the thinking behind that choice?
So if you got something, if you got some attack besides trying to shit out of Nationals, which y'all probably don't seem like y'all.
It finally happened, and this is kind of crazy because it's very consistent with the video we made a few days ago in regards to Frank Vogel being on the hot seat. We have a lot to get to in this video, guys, so quick reminder, we're giving away $500 to any of my Instagram followers. You just have to follow on IG and make sure you like and subscribe and turn on our notifications, because this is our 4th video in 2 days and I'm in the middle of moving, and that's not even stopping me. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. I absolutely love Fetch Rewards because it's an application that literally will make you free money in the form of gift cards. All you have to do is take out your phone and scan all of your receipts, whether they are digital or they are hard copies. Once you do that, you get points, and you can use those points to redeem gift cards and other cool prizes on their website. It's a great way to grind towards a new jersey or a brand new video game. And now when you use my promo code TheFlightMike, you'll get 3,000 additional points on your first receipt when you download Fetch Rewards. That's promo code TheFlightMike for an additional 3,000 points on your first receipt. And thank you, Fetch Rewards, for the sponsorship. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? In our last video, we covered how Frank Vogel's job is in jeopardy with the team, and this came to us from Bill Oram and Sam Amick and The Athletic, and I really trust The Athletic as a source in general, so there is a lot of credibility to this situation. Currently, the Lakers are a play-in team with 22 wins and 23 losses, and the whole basis of this argument is the fact that Frank Vogel's job is in serious jeopardy with the team being, well, at the time, 7th in the Western Conference throughout those 44 games. That's because the Lakers felt like they gave Frank Vogel a significantly improved roster since last year when the Lakers encountered a first-round playoff exit, and the Lakers responded to their first-round playoff exit by trading all of their depth for 9-time All-Star and former MVP Russell Westbrook. And so far, it's been a very clunky fit. The Lakers have never been more than 3 games above 500 at any point this season, and after a 4-game winning streak at the start of the new year, has lost 3 of its last 4 games, including the 37-point beatdown by the Denver Nuggets. Now, of course, injuries have been a factor for the Lakers. Anthony Davis has missed 14 consecutive games because of a sprained MCL. LeBron James has only played 32 of 44 games, but Russell Westbrook also questioned the team's effort after the loss in Denver, and Dwight Howard questioned its commitment to defense. Now, what's even worse is the Lakers faced off against the Indiana Pacers last night, and they're going to be on their infamous Grammy road trip, which features games against the Miami Heat, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Philadelphia 76ers. Bear in mind, the Lakers are just 7-11 on the road this season. So that's where we were so far, and last night's game against the Indiana Pacers was really freaking ugly. I mean, I'm going to be honest, it started out really well for Russell Westbrook. He came out and made his first 3 3-pointers, which was very promising. But the rest of the game was abysmal from both an offensive point of view and a defensive point of view. He finished the game shooting 5 of 17 from the field, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and he was getting destroyed defensively, which resulted in him getting benched. The final straw, pushing the staff to honor their instinct to bench him, was when Caris LeVert blew by Russell Westbrook on defense for a layup with 7 minutes and 13 seconds left. There's also a lot of disputes, and the reason why this was significant apparently was because Frank Vogel emphasized how much Caris LeVert drives to the right and how you should favor your right side when you're defending him. But there's other arguments saying that there was a play where Russell Westbrook didn't box out. So there's a lot of arguments about the exact play where Russell Westbrook got benched, but there was multiple bad plays by Russell Westbrook that kind of resulted in Frank Vogel pulling him and putting him on the bench. When Frank Vogel was asked why he benched Russell Westbrook, it was a little bit more harsh, and I don't think he was as upfront as he could have been, because the answer to this question should have been, I'm coaching for my freaking job, and the Lakers are considering firing me because I was given a big 3 that clearly doesn't have chemistry with one another, and a bench that is primarily composed of players that are above the age of 35. But instead, Frank Vogel took the high road and said this. Even this response is kind of harsh.
You opted to go with Russ on the bench at the end of the game. What were you looking for there? What was the thinking behind that choice?
Yeah, playing the guys I thought were going to win the game.
What's really funny about this is a couple of days ago, Russell Westbrook came out and said this about him potentially being traded. And this is according to The Athletic's Sam Amick, saying, "I never worry about getting traded. I do the job, I be professional. Every year my name is in trade rumors, and it never seeps into how I approach what I do." It's kind of what I was mentioning back there during the press conference. I see this game as so different in terms of how to use it to be able to impact things. Regardless of if a trade did happen or if it didn't happen, nothing's going to change my mentality or my purpose. I feel like I have a purpose that's bigger than basketball, and I always keep that as my forefront regardless of what happens inside pro sports. Russ gives a lot of sound bites that could be twisted to make him look like something that he is not. I mean, when he said he's allowed to turn the ball over, for example, that was taken the wrong way. And right here, if you wanted to twist his words, which I'm sure someone in the media will, you could say Russ clearly doesn't care about basketball because he feels like he has a greater purpose than basketball, which I'm not saying he's doing, but I'm just so desensitized to how the media handles this, so just be on the lookout for that. So as a result, Russ was so upset about what happened that he ended up avoiding the media altogether afterwards, which leads us to question what's going to happen next. There are two routes that the Lakers could go in. One is they need to make a significant trade, but making a trade for the Los Angeles Lakers right now is like doing a Rubik's Cube behind your back blindfolded. You have Russell Westbrook, whose value isn't really the greatest. You have Talon Horton-Tucker, which I guess you could dangle in front of some teams, and you have a bunch of second round picks and maybe like a first round pick a few years down the line. And the Lakers have been taking swings. They did offer 2 second round picks for Cam Reddish, but obviously the Knicks had a better package for the Atlanta Hawks, which is why they ended up taking that package instead. So the first thing you could do is try to trade Russell Westbrook for someone else, because at this point we've seen enough of a sample size, whether Anthony Davis is healthy, whether LeBron James is playing well or not playing well, and hell, even sometimes when Russell Westbrook's playing well, it doesn't seem to matter. This team is not going to win a championship, let alone gonna make it to the playoffs. And you don't have to be a genius to figure that out. If the Lakers went up against the Golden State Warriors in a playoff series, hell, even the Golden State Warriors without Klay Thompson, the Lakers would get swept. I mean, that would be the case with most of the teams that they would face off against in the playoffs, assuming they make it to the playoffs. And the Lakers do feel some sort of urgency because they need to make the most out of LeBron James's prime. Speaking of LeBron James, listen to what LeBron James had to say about this entire situation.
How was Russ after the game? Is that the sort of thing that bothers him?
Have you followed Russ throughout this season? Yeah. Would you think that would bother Russ not being in the late game?
The next option is you could fire Frank Vogel, but what are you going to do? Replace him with David Fizdale? Is David Fizdale really an upgrade over Frank Vogel? Is this even Frank Vogel's fault? I mean, with all due respect, when you gave Frank Vogel the pieces he needed to win a championship, when the construction of the roster made sense and he had depth, then the Lakers were able to make a run. I firmly believe that the reason why the Lakers weren't successful last year was because they were dealing with injuries throughout the entire season, and by the time it came time for the playoffs, you had Anthony Davis that was injured. You had Dennis Schroeder that literally came back like 2 weeks before, and he was a bit rusty. And this isn't to make excuses, but the Lakers literally had like 2.5 to 3 months to get ready for last season, and the wheels started falling off towards the end of that season. I honestly think they should have potentially ran it back. I didn't think the trade for Russell Westbrook necessarily made sense, and now their head coach has a team that clearly doesn't work well together, and I don't really know how to solve this problem. I hope they figure it out. I think maybe bringing Russell Westbrook off of the bench would work, but would you really want a player making $47 million a year coming off of your bench? Or maybe start Russell Westbrook, but towards the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game, keep him out, or have him run with the bench a little bit more and less with LeBron James, and when Anthony Davis comes back, Anthony Davis. At this point, the Lakers need answers because there is no way this team is competitive at all, and firing your head coach that won you a championship 2 years ago in favor for a head coach that won 1 out of his 6 games with this exact same roster isn't the answer either. So let me know what your solution is in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.